Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Ariel Tamirano, and this is my YouTube channel, Empowering Teachers Worldwide. So, welcome back to the third video in the Young Poets Society series. And today we're going to have a look at more structured poems that spark creativity. So, first of all, let's have a look at cinquain poems. Yes, cinquain poems are 5-line poems that don't rhyme, but they follow a pattern. So, show students a simple example, yes, and tell them what the structure is. Show the structure. So the first line has only one word, which sets the topic. It's a topic or it's a keyword. In line 2, you have 2 words that are adjectives that describe the first word. Line 3, you have 3 action verbs that describe what one does. In line 4, you have a sentence or a phrase about one. And the last line, again, has one word which refers back to one. So, it may sound complicated, but it's really simple. You show them a few examples. So you see, yes, dessert, cold, creamy, slurp, giggle, dribble, cone with 3 scoops, ice cream. Or a dragon. Yes, I love dragons. Dragon, strong, fierce, fly, walk, eat. A dragon is fierce. Legend. So you ask your students to work in groups to analyze a sample poem. So ask them, for example, to establish the relationship between the first and the last lines. What feelings does this create? Brainstorm synonym pairs on the board. For example, life, journey, holiday, escape, teacher, guide. Choose one and write a class poem together before asking the students to work on their own. And this activity works beautifully with teenagers because it is quick, controlled, but still very personal. Another type of poem that can be as easy or as difficult as you wish, so it can be adapted to different levels, those are shape poems. Yes, we're going to have a look at kata poetry and shape poems. First of all, shape poems. These are poems written in the outline of one thing they describe. For example, here we have a whirlwind, twister. Here we have a snowman. So, students can create their own shape poems. Choose a simple subject, for example, a tree, a guitar, a ball. Draw the outline lightly in pencil, or ask them to do that. Write a short poem inside the shape. Yes, it can be all filling all the shape, or it can be just the outline, right? Adjust the spacing so that the words follow the outline. Also, decide if you need to make your writing bigger or smaller. Perhaps in certain, like these, in certain parts of the poem, you want bigger fonts, and in others, smaller fonts. Finally, erase the pencil line so only the words on the page are shown. And explain that the shape reinforces the meaning. Again, you can do this with the students and then allow them to freely draw their poem and write the shape poem. Yes? If you're teaching online, students can use a digital template or a poem generator. And it's a wonderful blend of art and language, and I'm sure that your students will love sharing their creation. Now, let's have a look at kata poetry and found poetry. These are found poems, blackout poems. They are really very creative ways of writing poetry. Yes, for example, a found poem or a cutout poem. You can call them both ways. You ask the students to collect interesting words. For example, you can ask them to look for magazines, newspapers, catalogs, whatever in English, and cut up words that they find interesting. If it's difficult for them to find publications in English, you can print different types of texts and ask them to cut them up, to cut the words they are interested in or the phrases they are interested in up and collect them. Yes, and then they can use those words and phrases to make a poem. Um, they start moving the slips of paper in order to create the poem, and then they can paste them and create posters. Yes, with blackout poetry, the system is different. This is something that is very common in creative writing workshops and something that I do with some of my friends sometimes. Yes, you find an old book, newspapers, whatever. Yes, and what they can do is they can use only the words on that page. They mark out the words, yes, leaving behind the words that form an unexpected poem. For example, here you have, suppose, call me, nothing particular, I have, and then they paint in black all the rest. Another way of doing this is outlining the words you see here and making it like a labyrinth, and then creating a picture that goes with the poem. Uh, Once your students are confident using these forms of poetry, all the forms of poetry we have seen, they can try combining forms. For example, they can write a cinquain in the shape of a star or a free verse poem in the shape of a tree. You can also connect poetry with other subjects. For example, with art, they can illustrate their poems. Yes, with ICT, they can record audio versions or digital collages. They can use poems to express social or environmental themes. Performance also adds another layer to poetry because they can read aloud, add background music, display their poems in a virtual gallery, yes, or have a poetry competition, a poetry slam. So, thank you very much for watching this series, and remember that poetry gives students freedom to think, to feel, to express who they are in a new language, and as teachers, that's what we want, learners who actually use the language, not just study it. So, thank you very much for watching this series. Keep writing, keep reading, and keep inspiring your young poets. And remember, click on the bell just to subscribe to this channel and uh, get your alerts every time I post a new video. So bye-bye for now. See you soon.